I really want to talk about your Melbourne Comedy Festival show.
Oh, yeah, great.
I only got to see a few shows because I was also performing, but yours was definitely my favorite one that I saw.
Thank you.
That wasn't
Thank
Luke's.
you for being there, kid.
No, it was way better than mine. I saw it.
Thank
I saw
you
yours
for
twice.
Uh,
coming along.
And I your show, first of all, it was just like a regular great stand-up show, really normal, really great. But then you start telling this story about, being a Japanese woman in your previous life.
Yes.
And I suppose I'll let you explain the rest of it.
Well, yeah,
because I remember before this show,
Yes.
you had this grand idea to do this.
Yes.
And we were talking at a bar and you're like, I just don't know how to do this crazy thing. And we sat down for about an hour trying to work out the best way to do it. And you ended up going with that.
I
And
remember
it
when
still
you
shocked me.
I will never forget when I heard about the idea, and I just heard the sentence. And I will spoil the ending, but I just heard the best phrase I've ever heard over the phone. Oi, it was from you, I think.
Yeah.
Joseph's gonna like mac on with an old Japanese woman. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "At his show every night." And I was just like, "I have to see this."
Yeah. Really good stuff. So,
And it was just so on brand because I was like, and anyone else, if he'd have been like, "Oh, French is going to do that," I'd be like, "No, he's not." Just because he said Joseph Green on the front, I was like, "Oh yeah, I could see that." I was like, "That tracks."
So why don't you? So we now know that Joseph Green wants to kiss an old Japanese woman every night. And by the way, the comedy festival, that's 23 nights, right? So basically a month. You're married to this woman. You want to kiss her every single night. And the conversation we have was, how the fuck do you A, incorporate that into the show, and B, find a Japanese woman who is willing, an older Japanese woman who's willing to kiss you every night, but also speaks fluent Japanese and is not married?
I think there would have been a few women jumping out for that role.
Can I give a bit of context? It
Yes.
just seems like I had some weird fetish. I'm like, how can I shoehorn pashing a Japanese woman into my show?
Yeah.
Just to let the people know what I like to do.
Yeah. Look, guys, I'm fairly certain this is not a Dan Schneider situation.
But so the poster for my show, for those that don't know, is a picture of me and an old Japanese woman, which was completely coincidental in the sense that I was doing a photo shoot. There was a pink wall behind me, and there was an old Japanese woman walking past, and I shouted out to her. I said, she was wearing all pink, and I said, "Madam,
Come kiss me." It's all right, we get it.
Suspicious.
I'm like, you are beautiful. Can I have your number?" And then I said, you look so wonderful. You match up with the wall. Do you want to do some photos together? And so we did some photos. And then as soon as I saw the photo,
It's still the most Joseph Green thing of all time to have an impromptu photo shoot with a complete stranger who's like 60 years older than you. Like, come on, jump in. We're all having fun here.
Motoko,
Like if we were doing a photo shoot,
we still text me and Motoko.
I believe that as well. If we were like doing a photo shoot, I'd be like, "Oh, just wait for the old Japanese woman to walk past." I wouldn't even think like, "Get her in."
I
Like,
want to go through your phone and read all your texts. It'd be Motoko, Mr. Shafiq, mates asking you to do deliveries, people going, "Can you strip? I'm
You're
sick."
like one of the weirdest people I've ever met. You and Greeley are like the two strangest people I know.
Yeah.
So we have this photo shoot. I use that as the poster of the show. And then at a house party, a guy comes up to me who I'd never met before and says, "Dude, I love the photo. Do you think you were a Japanese woman in a previous life?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And he's like, I kind of think you were." And I said, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "Because I was a Japanese woman, and I really get a very strong sense when somebody else has that past life regression. And I feel like you were as well." And
I'm getting a strong sense that guy was on LSD. A real strong inkling.
Probably was. So then I do this bit about how, and then we were, two old Japanese women at this house party in Fitzroy. And so that was the bit. Goes for maybe 3 minutes or so. And then I thought, how can I like extend this bit further and further? And I thought the only funny way, or the funniest way for me to do that, would be if I got Dino in the audience every night, this kombucha brewer from the story, and it was a Japanese woman. And then she like storms the stage and then
That's one Japanese woman.
So what happened in the show? I said at the end of the bit, I think Dino said he was going to be here tonight. Are you here, Dino? And Ayuko, the Japanese woman number one, in the crowd.
Because there's more than one every night.
By the way, I knew what was happening, and I was still kind of confused. Like in the moment, I knew that it was a plant, but then I was like, "Is this where the plant thing starts, or is because you sold it so naturally?" I knew that it was coming, and you was like, "Dino's in the crowd tonight," and an old Japanese woman started talking, and I was like, "Is there two? Why is there?"
That's good. Because Dino's a real person who actually brews kombucha.
Right.
And there was one night, it was magical, where I finished the Dino story and there was someone in the row behind Ayuko saying, I fucking know. I know Dino. That he would totally say something like that. That's so Dino.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, is he here tonight? He said he was going to be here tonight. And they're like, nah, man, I wish he was. He's not here tonight. I'm like, damn. And then a Yuko pops in and goes, Joey, it's me, Dino. And then I'm like, sorry, what's going on? And then a Yuko storms the stage. And then as she gets to the stage, I'm like, it's Dino. This is Dino, everyone. And she has this kombucha. She says, drink the kombucha, put on your kimono, feel your whole self, and realize you are a Japanese woman. And I'm like, you're a Japanese woman. I'm not. I'll drink some kombucha. But why would I have a kimono? That's crazy. I leave the stage. Then Mayumi comes on, Japanese woman number 2.
Two Japanese women every single night.
Dressed as me.
Yeah.
And then does a little bit of stand-up as me. And then
she continues on one bit that you'd kind of half finished.
Yeah, and then even talks. I don't know if she did the nights you saw. That she would speak to Ayuko in Japanese as well. And then at the end, she says, realize at the end of the journey, we're all on this spiritual path, and I realized that I am Joe Green, but you are Joe Green, and you are Joe Green, and you are Joe Green, and we're all one. And then I come from the back of the theater. I'm like, I am Joe Green, and then this opera music starts up, and we like lock eyes, and
this is where the show could have ended.
Dude, it was like the funniest thing I've ever been in the room for at a comedy show. Like when you were walking towards the stage, and the whole crowd was Joe Green, and everyone we were all one. Yeah. It's like you create this scenario where you're Joe Green, I'm Joe Green, and then you're pointing at people in the crowd like you're Joe Green, and people in the crowd are kind of like, oh, maybe I'm Joe Green. I don't know.
Because for 5 minutes, Joe Green is not in the room, and his show is just two Japanese women
arguing in Japanese. So when you re-enter, it was just so funny, and then so that you're walking to stage,
and then we come closer and closer until we start pashing,
and that's how the show ends.
Yeah, and then Ayuko stands up and applauds, and that's the show.
So funny. Like the people next to me would like fucking howling, laughing like uncontrollably. My friends from high school went to watch a show. They like came away with a headache. They were like, that was like probably the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh, that's very sweet.
And it was good before all that stuff. It's just like good stand up, like really, really good stand up as well. So then you add in this weird, absurd element,
so funny, man.
And make out with an old Japanese woman. Awesome.
Yeah, it was fun to do that. I feel like the whole run was better because of that.
Yeah.
You know, there's like things where no matter how hard you can work on a bit and write a great premise and a great joke, but there's like nothing funnier than like a handsome 30-year-old dude just macking on with an old Japanese woman. There's actually nothing funnier than that.
Yeah. You just can't
imagine like malnourished Thor just kissing.
It does put
like an old Japanese woman.
Thor.
I was kind of like, what can I do next year to beat that bit?
You're gonna have to fuck one. Good luck with the casting for that. But that's what I want to talk about.
Oh, yes.
How the fuck did you find these people?
So there's
you needed two.
Yes, I needed two. I knew I wanted two Japanese women. There's a website called Star Now, which I guess is the only acting or modeling is one of the only few employment spaces where you can be entirely discriminatory and that's sort of encouraged. So you can set the search engine to female 60 plus Japanese, and it'll give you all the 60 plus Japanese women in Melbourne. And so I wrote down maybe 8 names, and then I added all of them on Facebook, And
Oh,
then,
so you just completely circumvented their system.
Yeah,
You're like, I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
paying Star now. I'll find them on Facebook.
I just got their full names
Yeah.
and then added them on Facebook and sent them a private message.
How many even
Again, I want to go
replied?
through your phone.
There's about 4 or 5 replied. Ayuko, who ended up playing Japanese woman number 1, Dino, she, I accidentally called her Mami Kojima because there was another Japanese woman who didn't get cast, but her name was Mami Kojima.
Yeah.
And I kept copying and paste like the last message and then sending it to the next one.
Oh,
And I called Ayuko Mami Kojima. And Ayuko was so happy to get this offer
Yeah.
from me. She said, I would love to be in the comedy festival. I'm so honored to get this message, but I'm afraid that it was not meant for me. It was meant for Mami Kojima.
That's so sweet.
that's adorable.
And I'm like, no, Ayuko, I would love, it was meant for you. Fuck Mami Kojima.
How do you feel about kissing?
No, she was never going to be the
Yeah.
one when I kissed. But yeah.
Why? What made...
Did you have a preference?
Yeah.
How did you know which one was? Just dug yourself a hole there, didn't you?
Because there's no special skills needed. You've just dug yourself into a fucking hole.
Was she not a hot enough Japanese woman for you? That's 70.
That was not it. It had to be the person that played myself. And she was not going to be playing
Yeah.
that person.
Right. For any reason? Was it? Did you look at her, at an old Japanese woman like, I didn't see myself?
Ayuko's very attractive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. Lewis, you saw it. But yeah,
Why do you think we were so surprised that you didn't want to kiss her?
But yeah, Mayumi had some like experience on stage before, so
Right, yeah.
she was better at like
That's the, more difficult role, I guess.
yeah,
Oh yeah, because you wanted someone to actually deliver your stand-up as well.
yeah. But she didn't. She did a little snippet, but
Mm.
anyway,
Right.
yeah.
So, were there any women that you ran the idea past them and they were like, I'd love to be involved, and you were like, here's what it is, and they went, no way.
No, they were all like very open, and like
Mm.
I guess the thing that we discussed is that like because when I formed the idea of having 2 women, I wasn't like I'm definitely going to pass on with them. I just thought it would
Yeah.
be great to have them in the show.
How did you bring that up? That one, just that
The kissing thing.
You just like, so I had this idea.
Well, just now I thought like what would be once I've got them
The escalate. That's what
involved.
I think. That's what we talked about. Like, what's the escalation? Like, once that happens, how do you go beyond that to end the show?
Yeah.
And we got to
Yeah, but like,
kissing.
how did you talk about?
Yeah,
How'd
so
you
that's
bring
the
that
thing
with
I broached with Lewis, which is like she agreed to it. And so I wrote her an email one night saying, hey, Mayumi, very excited to work with you. I'm still umming and ahhing about possible conclusions for the show. One possibility I want to run by you.
This is what we talked about for like an hour.
Yeah.
How do we do this without going?
Is potentially, maybe, at the very end, you and I start to kiss. By all means, we don't have to do that. I'm just putting it out there as an option. I'd love to know what you think. If you feel uncomfortable doing that, that's more than fine, and we can do something else. But I just thought I would share the idea with you. Let me know your thoughts. And then once she said, that's fine, I was like, great. We can go to work.
My favorite, and you were pretty happy about that one, weren't you, mate? One before we move on, my favorite part, just thinking about it now, is you can trial jokes. Like we go out to open mics and we test run stuff, so you know pretty much where the laughs are going to come.
Yeah.
That opening night where you were just like you knew you were going to kiss an old Japanese woman, but you hadn't yet road tested it.
We'd never kissed before then.
I know.
Did you do rehearsal?
No. Well, we did like a block through.
Yeah.
Like a walk through blocking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we never kissed until that first time
Yep.
on stage.
Yeah.
And then when you went in, was there a part of you going like, because it was the crescendo of your show, there was no other jokes.
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that's like, if we kiss and people just stare at us in silence, like that's the weirdest.
Oh, I was
thing
so
ever.
terrified.
Yeah.
That like the whole time I'm performing, I'm like, fuck, not long now.
Yeah.
Not long now till I try and kiss. How are we going to do this?
Yeah,
I wish I'd have been there opening night. That's so good.
how passionate is this? Because did you talk about what a kiss is? Because a kiss could be like a little peck.
Exactly.
It could be
You hadn't even specified the parameters of the kiss.
We're going to feel it out.
Oh, wow.
We're going to feel it out.
Ambitious if you opening night, you slipped in tongue. You know, very ambitious.
Yeah,
I would have gone for the peck for sure.
Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, that was frightening. After the first or second night, I could start to, enjoy it. But before that, it was just very nerve-wracking.
So you're thinking about maybe filming this show?
Yeah,
as well?
maybe.
Perhaps.
It'd be
I think
fun.
there'll be a couple thousand people who have heard this episode going, well, I need to see this shit now. Jesus. It was so good. Like, that's when I told my friends about the show, I was like, you gotta go see it. No, I just told them the end in the briefest possible form. The hook line, I'm like, he kisses an old Japanese woman. All my mates within 10 minutes were in the pub where they're all buying tickets to the
that's
show.
so nice.
They're just like, we're not missing this. It's just the best headline of all times.